Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, everyone. I'm Justin Frye. That's Joe Harlow. This is the Week 12 IDP guys live waiver wire show. I'm on Twitter or X at FFFBallers. Joe's there at Jolo63. So let's see. IDP guys website. We've got all of our great content still churning out, getting it out early. Get ready for Thanksgiving. Big day of football and Black Friday football. We got all sorts of stuff. We got a Black Friday code. Saxgiving gives you 30% off the rest of the season. It's good till the 4th of December. And as always, make sure to ask questions along. We got a lot of names to get through, a lot of injuries to talk about. So
Always
with
injuries.
that, Joe, you want to hop into the injury report?
If we have to. So big one to start. Joe Burrow, Bengals quarterback, done for the season. Just the injured reserve quarterback continues to keep going. What is that? 5 starters now? Something like that? Just absolutely brutal. But Jake Browning is going to be taking the reins there. With those receivers, if they're healthy, should be fine as like a quarterback, borderline quarterback 2 in super flex leagues, but nothing too massive there. Just super disappointing. Really sucks to see, especially after Burrow was just getting healthy.
Yeah.
Also with quarterbacks. Oh, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, if you have any of the Bengals receivers not named Jamar Chase, I would get out now. And even Chase it's going to be a tough call to start him as your wide receiver 2 going forward. So it's brutal.
If you start 3 wide receivers or 2 wide receivers and multiple flexes, it's going to be almost impossible to take him out of your lineup. But that upside is pretty
gone.
Yeah, sucks. I mean, he still has that ability to go off, but it's going to be a lot tougher now. Yep. Also at quarterback, Geno Smith had an elbow injury, missed the majority of the second half before almost getting the Seahawks back to the win the last minute and a half of that game. His status is up in the air for Thursday night still. If it was a long week, probably would make it, but just with 3 Thursday night games, them being one of them, it's going to be a tough decision. Either way, probably going to bench him just with the San Francisco matchup, and they're on an absolute heater right now after being on the opposite of that for a while. Running back wise, Devon Achane, after 2 snaps, already out, already left the game again with an injury to the same knee, I believe, and did not return. Still haven't seen much on what his status is for this week, rest of the season, but hopefully he's back. But he's someone who's big play or bust, and it's going to be very scary to play him, which was kind of expected with him coming into this season and career and back from this injury. Also at running back, Aaron Jones, another guy who's been maligned with injuries this year. Knee injury, left the game. Sounds like he's probably going to miss this week, correct? They play Thursday night as well, right?
They play, they're the first game, I believe. They play early.
The Lions, but
so I would not expect him or Emmanuel Wilson to play. So we might touch on running back there.
Spoilers. Elsewhere, Ken Walker for the Seahawks, and also a Thursday night game. Oblique injury. Pete Carroll said he didn't expect Walker to be an injured reserve candidate, but did not sound super promising. Yeah. Would not expect him this week either. So we do not touch on him in this show, but Zach Charbonnet is the name to have on there.
He's probably rostered in a lot of leagues already. We've hit him a few times saying stash him. So
yep. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp, another injury, ankle. At this point, I feel like every time we do this, just to be determined on pretty much all these injuries, but they do not play Thursday night, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, who is the Friday game this week?
Dolphins Jets.
Okay, it's interesting, but
we get to watch Tim Boyle go against the Dolphins.
That'll be gross. But
The middle of
um,
3 p.m. or something like that.
yeah. And what we thought was going to be also a receiver, Dontavian Wicks, has a concussion. With them being the Thursday game, I would be absolutely shocked if he plays. But
Yeah.
So not that he would be a huge name to mention anyway, though we may or may not be mentioning him later. What we thought was going to be the biggest injury of the week, and for about 45 minutes, was Mark Andrews when he went down with a leg injury. Going to be out for the season, at least the fantasy season. There were some reports that if they make it to the AFC Championship game, Super Bowl, that he could come back for that, but those are big ifs, and there's very, very little chance he comes back for the fantasy season. It would take some dolphin noises or something to come back, but don't expect him back, unfortunately. Believe that hits it for most of the offense, at least some of the bigger names. Oh, Odell Beckham Jr. also in that game had a shoulder injury. Didn't seem too major. I thought he did come back, or at least had his helmet on the sideline. But
he played some, but he, after a while, definitely took his pads off and stayed on the sideline. But the coach said it wasn't too serious, but he has had an AC joint sprain on that shoulder before, so something to monitor. Especially with Andrews out. Especially with Andrews out.
Yeah, was helpful that it was Thursday going into Sunday, so hopefully that helps him be able to suit up. Defensive side, Joey Bosa, again, injured. He is going on IR with a foot injury. I don't know if it'll be a season ender, but
yeah, they said mid-foot sprain, which typically means Liz Frank, which means he's done.
Yep, and honestly, with how that team is, just wouldn't expect them to rush him back this season. Elsewhere on the defensive line, I'm not seeing much. Linebackers had a few injuries. Go ahead.
I missed the Washington player, but we'll hit on that a little bit when we get to D-line. So
F.A. Odaba?
Yeah, something like that.
One of the two. He out for
He's done for the year.
Okay.
Broke up multiple bones in his leg, I think they said.
Oof, brutal. Then James Smith-Williams, I think, missed last week too. But, oh, goodness, they're on their third stringers there. But we'll touch on that. Linebacker-wise, Devondre Campbell was injured right as Quay Walker came back. We'll hit on that in a little bit. He did not return with a stinger to that game. And again, with it being the Thursday game, it does not seem super promising that he will play, but something to keep an eye on. Anthony Walker, hamstring injury. Seems like those feel like probably going to miss at least a game. But unfortunate there. Levante David also to be determined with a groin injury. See how that goes.
I would expect with his age, he would probably miss at least a week. They don't tend to recover as quickly as you get a little older.
Yeah. Defensive backfield, a lot of injuries. Cam Taylor-Britt had a hamstring injury. Just that Thursday night game. These Thursday games are just really, this is when they're really going to start.
It was in Baltimore, right?
It was.
Okay. Yeah, that field, I mean, the Ravens always have tons of injuries, I feel like. So not
just weird from a well-run organization.
Yeah, they also have grass, not turf. So that's also strange.
Weird.
But whatever.
Oh, Baltimore. Also in the defensive backfield, Rodney McLeod, biceps injury, done for the year. Talanoa Hufanga, ACL injury, out for the season. Struggling this year after last year's just nothing to absolute superstar. And we'll hit on his replacement. Marcus Epps, go Pokes, neck injury, to be determined there, as seems all of these still are. Kayvon Wallace had a concussion. Most likely will miss this week, but that bit us with one of our names last week. So, well, I guess it didn't bite us, but yeah. Anything we missed in there, Justin, that you can see? I think that's all the names.
No, I think we got them all. So
there are probably some we missed, but
probably we'll hop on down. I see a few questions coming in. We'll touch on those as we get through the position that you're asking about. But with that, we'll hop down to buys.
I'm seeing a comment here that Kaiser White out for the season.
I don't remember seeing
Yeah,
out
I
for
do
the
not.
year, but we'll double check it while we're doing this. So coming off by Atlanta, New Orleans, New England, Indy, and for the second time this year, we are no buys yet. Next week, just FYI, there will be 6, and there are 2 more in week 14. So NFL, thanks for that.
So weird.
Yeah. Let's see. So
Looking up some Kaiser White stuff and not. He is going on IR, it looks like.
Okay. Well, I might need you to run this for a minute because my computer just froze up.
Okay, can do. So, reminder, just shoot in some questions as you guys have them. We will get to them as those positions come up. And if we do pass a position, still feel free to ask a question regarding it, and we'll hit it a little later on. Looks like we do have a couple in here for defensive side of the ball, which is where we will start. So last week on the defensive line, we're going to go ahead and get in there while Justin figures out his computer situation.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
You are frozen on my screen at least, though.
Wonderful.
So last week on the defensive line, we went 1 and 2. Miles Murphy, we took a loss on. He had 2 tackles, no sacks. Still do think he is a good play, especially with the injuries along that front. But we'll see there. BJ Ojolari had a tackle and a sack, so it was very much just one big play, but it made it happen. Still someone feel confident playing. He is their most exciting player on that defensive line, if nothing else, and still has the most juice. And with Kyler Murray back, they are going to be in more games, so we'll have to see more pass opportunities. And he did see 52% of snaps again, which tied his season high with last week and was second amongst edge rushing types behind Zaven Collins for snaps last week, who had 1 more snap. So there. And then the last name we had touched on last week was Sheldon Rankins, who gave us a big old goose. So lost there, but with the D tackle position, it's kind of hit or miss there. So, and I do see there are some defensive line questions. I'm going to wait for Justin to get back before we touch on those. So we'll get through these names for right now. First name I want to touch on, we alluded to it with the injuries along the Washington front, but KJ Henry, who we did bring up a couple weeks ago, really by process of elimination, he's the one who's going to have a shot. He did get that shot last week, playing 67% of snaps, which was his season high, had 4 tackles and 1.5 sacks. So knowing, again, it was the Giants offensive line who gave up 18.5 sacks over the last, I don't know, but they gave up so many sacks. It's a good one to stream against. But against Dallas this week, it's not the ideal play, but it still could be a solid one, decent streaming option, and definitely a good player to stash on a bench and see if they really do end up blowing up with playing now that they are forced into playing time. Next name we will hit is Tuli Tuipulotu for the Chargers, who we have touched on a few times, was an early season waiver darling. Hopefully it kept him through the last few weeks when Joey Bosa did get healthy and took most of his snaps away. Because as we said, Bosa's done for the year, most likely, at least for the next 4 weeks. So Tuipulotu is going to have the shot to be the main guy. He played, I think it was 92% of snaps last week, since Bosa did go down very early in the game. He did not have a huge impact on it, just with only 3 tackles, but he does have 4 sacks on the season and has been an absolute terror in the time he has gotten. So he's a pretty solid weekly play, especially if in multiple defensive line and defensive end leagues. The last name to hit in the defensive line right now is Jonathan Cooper with the Broncos. Oh, and should say Tuipulotu has the Ravens this upcoming week, which is a hit or miss matchup, but will be interesting to see. Jonathan Cooper for the Broncos has the Browns this week. He does have 5.5 sacks on the year, which is good production from a player who wasn't expected to get a huge amount of work coming into the season, but Definitely seems like a good play, and has at least three tackles in all but one game this season. So that gives you a pretty solid floor, which you need, especially as injuries and such pile up. Double checking his snap share, but it has been pretty good on the season. He is at wrong Jonathan. He is at up to 80% of snaps last week, which was the highest he had since week 5. So that is a good trend. He was played 15 more snaps than Nick Benito. And yeah, he was the top player. Zach Allen was the only one amongst the front 4 type players, pass rush type players who had more snaps than him. And looks like we have Justin back. We are switched. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry about
Welcome back. We just ran through the names. Did you have anything else to add on KJ Henry, Tui Pelotu, or Jonathan Cooper?
I'm not sure what you added, so I'm good. I'm sure you got it all.
Yep. Let's get into those defensive line questions. We do have, there it is. From TM, thank you for the question, as always. Ranking defensive linemen for the rest of the season. Kwity Paye, Carl Granderson, Go Pokes, Chase Young, Josh Allen, and Chris Jones.
Assuming it's Josh Allen, not Jonathan Allen.
Yeah, I guess good question there.
But I would probably prioritize Josh Allen, Chris Jones. I'm not sure about the other 3. Probably Granderson, Paye, Young.
I still think I would put Chase Young over Paye, just pure upside and ability to wreck a game. I think that the Colts defense has been overperforming, I believe. So, but yeah, if it's Jonathan Allen, where would you put him on the hierarchy?
Probably at the bottom, unless it's like a tackle-heavy format. What about you?
I'm still pretty high on Jonathan Allen this year. He did have, I think, a sack and a half this week. Talked about it was the Giants, so it doesn't super count. But yeah, tackle heavy league, still feel good about him, and do think he has a pretty safe floor. So if it's Josh Allen, he's the top one. Then Chris Jones. Then I'd go Granderson, Young, Paye. It is Jonathan Allen. So there, I'm going Chris Jones, Granderson. Then I probably go Young, Allen, Paye. But Jones is the top one for me, for sure.
Okay. Looks like that's offense. Evan's question's offense. So.
Yep. So Evan might be a minute before we get to you, but we will get there once we get to the offensive side.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So next we're going to get into linebackers, where we had some big news today, which we'll get to after. How did we do last week, Justin?
2-1-1. Ivan Pace and Alani Roberts both did great. Mark Robinson took an L on. I mean, it was kind of what I expected. Mikel Walker actually took the role that we were hoping for from Robinson. But essentially what you wanted to see was that they weren't splitting snaps and that Roberts played the full 100%. So that's good news in general. And then Christian Harris took that one as a push because he didn't really produce, but he actually played 100% of snaps, which is great. Assuming he can keep that going forward. When Toto comes back this week, I assume, off the concussion, and then Perryman comes back the following week. So it's probably still at most another 1 week at best, but he did fine with the role at least last week.
So first piece or had a couple bigger pieces of news today at linebacker. We're going to skip ahead that are going to make EJ Speed and Blake Martinez a lot more relevant. The Colts cut Shaq Leonard earlier today, like 10, 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. So, which was unexpected, but gives them some cap relief and cutting ties with a player who is not happy with his play time and role. And he's been dealing with a lot of injuries. with him on waivers, it'll be interesting to see who claims him, or if
His
he goes unclaimed.
His contract might make it difficult, though I don't know what the guarantees look like. Let me
The
pull that up.
guarantees are not that bad. I think it was, I think it's only like 8 million really guaranteed over the next 2 years, and that at least with the Colts, it was able to be pushed over a couple of years, or like 8 million dead cap was what it was, I believe. Trying to remember that. I've listened to it on a Colts pod a couple weeks ago. I think that was the number.
Pulling it up.
This year was really the year they were locked into on that. But so with him being cut, EJ Speed probably should step into that role. When Leonard did miss time earlier in the season, Speed was the one who took that role over, whereas Segun Olubi was the one who took over for Zaire Franklin. So Speed feels like a priority pickup at this point. Though also keep an eye on Olubi.
So his
Blake
base
Martinez.
His base salary the next 2 years is 13 and 14 million. He's going to go unclaimed.
Yeah.
And then someone will sign him for less, because if you take him on and you get an injury, that 13 million could be fully guaranteed for next season. So I do not see any team willing to do that.
No, especially he's a very diminished version of himself right now. So
I would expect he might wind up on the Steelers, but the way they're going after linebackers.
Or the Cardinals with Kaiser White apparently being on IR.
Yeah. Or the Eagles have been interested in linebackers. Sorry.
We'll see. That will be interesting. Even if he does land somewhere in a good spot, he's still not a huge priority add to me, at least not someone I would expect to be a linebacker one. He's just not on the field. He's not what he used to be, and I cannot imagine him getting like a full-time role somewhere. Blake Martinez, like I said, signed with the Steelers. So Michael Walker last week, Blake Martinez now. That Landon Roberts does seem to be locked in as the linebacker one right now, but the rest of it seems a little hairy.
Roberts and Alexander were both playing a reasonable amount behind Cole Holcomb originally. So I think we might see someone potentially get back to that role, probably Martinez, if any of them, but it'll depend what he has left. We're going to run through the guys we have, and then we'll hit on your question, fantasy sports.
Sweet.
Do see it, though.
I'll let you hit that first name.
All right. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. We brought up Anthony Walker getting hurt. So Koramoah's actually played over 80% of snaps. So right there, I think it was like 81 and 79% of snaps the last 2 weeks. He's had 7 tackles in each of those games. He also had a half sack week 11, but week 10. And the Broncos matchup is mid-pack against linebackers, so I have no issue throwing him out there. If he's available, he's probably the most rostered player of the 3 we're going to talk about. But still, if he's out there in a little shallower leagues than some of these other ones, he's definitely worth an add and could throw him right in your lineup.
Yep. Another name to just bring up is Sione Takitaki, who I think we've brought up on the show before, but he actually did outsnap JOK last week, but he does not offer near the upside that JOK does, just with the playmaking ability. But it's if Walker doesn't this time, it's probably another decent floor play just to add, but JOK should be the priority. Next name to hit is player similar to Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and Marquise Bell, the safety linebacker now for the Cowboys. This week, he actually played more snaps than Damone Clark with 90% and had double-digit tackles, which was his season high. Since their bye week and Leighton Vander Esch going down with injury, he has played 70+% of snaps 3 out of those 4 games, and since their bye week, that is, and then has 6+ tackles in each of them. He's an athletic player, fun, interesting player, especially as a former safety in college. So him getting some run is very interesting. And if he is taking over that linebacker 1 role, that's an awesome spot to be in for him. This week's matchup is the Commanders as well, which
that's going to be Thursday as well. So just keep that one in mind. That's the mid game on Thursday.
Yep. Oh, so many Thursday games. So just hit on this one, Bertha. It's probably going to be EJ Speed.
That would be
Just
my
at least it has,
expectation.
but and he was very good in the games he did cover for Leonard earlier in the season.
We'll run through this last name, Isaiah McDuffie. The Packers, like we've talked about a couple times already, I think, played Detroit first game on Thanksgiving. Devondre Campbell got hurt with a stinger, and every time McDuffie fills in for one of Quay Walker or Devondre Campbell, he seems to post at least 6 tackles. He actually has 3 10-tackle games, 7 in a couple, and 6 in the last one. Of the 6 games, he's played 60% or more snaps. So he's putting up numbers, and pretty good shot at a 10-tackle game if he's the number 2 behind Walker. So see if he's out there. He's a worthwhile streamer. The last name to touch on real quick, the Commanders, Cody Barton. I don't know that he comes back this week, but at the very least, you should see if he's out there. Where they play Thursday in the middle game, he is probably not going to be activated this week, but he is practicing as of yesterday. He was brought back off IR. So high ankle sprain. Would imagine it would take him a little time to ramp up, but I would think he would be back for week 13. And with that, we can hop over to questions. The first one is from Fantasy Sports. Rest of season waiver wire ads: Speed, Cashman, Pace, Josh Woods, Landon Roberts. So at least for me, Roberts is the clear one.
Yeah.
He's the one that's locked into a full-time role. Cashman I like a lot. I don't see, even with Perryman back, I would expect he's going to stay as the will and play near a full-time role for the rest of the year. I think Pace is behind that because he's going to have it all for the next 3 weeks minimum, because they placed Hicks on IR after we had our waiver show last week. Mm-hmm. And then you looked up Kaiser. You said he was likely to go on IR. Is that what you said?
Yeah, from what I'm seeing, it's not the most reputable sources I've ever seen, but
I don't know that I trust the Arizona linebackers all that much. And Speed, I mean, Shaq Leonard's been putting up 7 tackles a game on 2/3 of snaps. So I know it's a little scary playing someone next to Zaire Franklin, but I think I would go Speed over Wood.
I do think will be at a higher snap percentage. Should be at a higher snap percentage than Leonard was. They're eating into each other's work a lot.
I would expect 4 for me behind the other, because it's not going to be full time, I don't think.
The games Leonard missed, just doing some quick looking there. He played, I guess it was really just week 5. He played 98% of snaps.
Okay.
So I'm going to have Roberts as a clear one as well. Then I would go Pace, Speed, Cashman.
You really just don't like Cashman, huh?
It's such a weird situation. I would want to, as of right now, I think Cashman could very easily even end up being number 1, but I just kind of want to see what it looks like. Just with so many people out right now, it's a weird spot.
I think Cashman had like 17 or 19 tackles this past week. It was kind of wild.
Yeah. He also seems like when he does has a great game, does nothing, good game. I don't know. I want to see more when everyone is healthy and active.
For reference, I actually dropped Cashman last week in a league. Joe and I played together for Roberts, and then Cashman went out, had a bigger week, which was fun. But
I guess, where did you put Josh Woods? I don't know where to feel about him. Last?
Yeah, I think the talent of the other 4. I know Pace is safe for the next few weeks. Speed's got a good role. Cashman's got a good role. Roberts has a good role. So to me, I just don't trust anyone in that Arizona linebacking core to truly stay long term in that role. So that's why he's 5th. Not that
another deep name to think about. This is probably more for a dynasty league, but Owen Popo, 5th round rookie out of Auburn. Now with Kaiser Whiteout, might get some run time. Another similar safety linebacker hybrid who could get some work and make some big plays. So probably not a redraft candidate for a pickup, but in Dynasty League. I know you and I were both pretty high on him.
Yeah, we had one other linebacker-ish type question on Josh Woods, which we kind of have been talking about. Assuming Kazier's out for the year, I mean, he's a reasonable, especially in a deeper league, add for this week for sure, and hope that he can hold down that role. And I did not see anything different looking at Jalen Thompson's usage. He did have his best game of the year, or one of them. But I didn't see anything
I think it's been
was a clear signal saying he's playing weak side linebacker or something without White. But I also wouldn't expect them to do that in game. I would think you might see that this week if they were to make a change like that.
Yeah, this week he had, I'm trying to do quick math, 48 of 67 snaps are in the slot box area. So we could see it a little more, but I'm sure. Whereas on the year it's been, which is pretty standard for where he's been on the year. But
I say it fluctuates a bit with all safeties, but it looked fairly within normal range. My quick look.
I would say he has an uptick, though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, the linebackers in front of him are going to be much worse without Kaiser White there, so he should see more tackle opportunities.
Yeah. Like in a 2 defensive back league, he's absolutely locked in at this point as one of those, unless you have like 2 great names. But
let's see.
Playing him.
Safety, offense. We had one more linebacker question. Yeah. All right. Do I add Cody Barton? It's the only one that you can add him. If you have to drop someone, I don't think I would drop. Lloyd's is the closest one, and I don't think I'm dropping him to add Barton. The other 3 are borderline to elite top 12 assets the rest of the season. So if you have someone else you can drop that's not one of those 4, then he's absolutely worth throwing on your bench, depending on how many linebackers you have to play. But
I agree there.
Lloyd's the clear linebacker 4 in that group to me, and I'm keeping him over Barton. So with that, we'll hop back to DBs. We got some questions we'll get to after we get through the DBs, but we went 1-1-1 last week. DeAndre Houston Carson did reasonably well. Tony Adams, unfortunately, it's more of a push. He played like 40% of snaps due to an injury and still put up some. I think he had 4 tackles on 40% of snaps, so it would have been nice if he played a little more. And Roger McCreary struggled. Also only had 4 tackles, but he played nearly a full-time role. So cornerbacks a little more inconsistent than safeties, unfortunately.
Still, if you're in a cornerback league, still feel very good about him, but DB league, I'd much rather go with Jalen Thompson.
Yeah, or Jordan Battle.
Oh, that's an option. That's a good name.
First name we're going to hit on, Nick Scott finally wound up on the bench after being PFF's worst graded safety through the first 10 weeks.
Oof.
So Jordan Battle hops in, plays 86% of snaps. And interestingly enough, they were kind of playing the same role between Jordan Battle and Dax Hill, which is really interesting rest of the season because Dax Hill's been a really good safety for IDP managers this year. It's been a little inconsistent, but like we've kind of said, that's kind of all DBs. But they kind of played similar box to free safety snap percentages. So if they're going to do that, then I'm not sure that you can really have much separation between the two. Dax Hill typically has been in my top 8 safeties weekly. So that'll be interesting. I think it might actually hurt Dax Hill some as well as help Battle. But Battle put up 11 tackles in his first full game. So
not half
really,
bad.
Really interesting. Probably it'll be interesting between the 2 rookie safeties because Joe's going to hop into the next rookie safety after this. But they're both intriguing ads. I think Battle's probably the tackle-heavy guy, whereas your name will be more of a big play guy just because of who he's replacing. But you want to hop in?
Yeah, so other rookie name is Jair Brown, also rookie out of Penn State, taking over for Talanoa Hufanga, who, as we mentioned earlier, done for the season with an ACL injury. Like Hufanga was more of that ranging type rover box safety last year. That's kind of what Brown was a lot at Penn State, but as Hufanga moved more to the free safety playmaker role this year, that's kind of where Brown's going to be taking over as well. And in his snaps this week, which he played, how many total snaps was it? 36 total snaps, which was just over 50%. He had 27 as a deep safety and only 9 in the slot box area. So he is much more of a big play threat if you're in a big play league, interception heavy.
One thing
He
with
did have
that,
an interception.
it looked like they were up pretty good at halftime, which is around the time of that Hufanga injury.
Yeah.
So Hufanga played 15-ish box snaps, so I think it'll tick up a little bit this coming week with the games still in doubt. So sorry, just to hop in.
No, you were good. Yeah, Hufanga had 15 deep snaps and then 20 in the slot box or on the line.
Okay.
So hopefully Brown is in that range still. I believe he did have an interception this week, which also helps show the big play ability, and hopefully he can get some more of those, where Hufanga was struggling a little bit this year, coming off last year's blow-up year. Good play, also a big dynasty ad as well. Still don't know, just without seeing the usage, or if someone else ends up taking over, but would want to give it a week probably before starting him, but he is a very good ad, I believe. And they are playing Seattle this week. So I guess if Seattle is not playing Geno Smith with Drew Lock starting, I would add Brown to the lineup, and just Drew Lock's probably going to throw a pick or 6. So
yeah, so Battle is definitely the priority for me for this
Absolutely.
week, and then Brown might be more of a longer term play, but I do think Battle will have a solid role too the rest of the year. I think both of them could honestly be in the top 24 DBs rest of the season.
I agree there.
The last name, little less star power, but Isaiah Pola Mao, let's see if I say his last name right. He's the Raiders' replacement for Marcus Epps when he left with a neck injury, which don't know what the status is there, but assuming Epps misses, he had 77% of snaps, 7 tackles, so many sevens, and an interception on around 80% of snaps. And it's an interesting matchup playing KC, kind of mid-pack. And if he can play longer than just 1 week, it's a pretty good role. Epps has been a decent DB for deeper leagues, so it's an interesting, at least 1 week play probably. So it's a name to keep in mind.
Yep.
And we had a couple DB questions.
Yeah, well marked in there. We touched on Jordan Battle and Dax Hill.
They kind of split that box roll. Just if you want to highlight.
Yeah, I'll get that up real quick just to get the specific numbers.
But they were, my quick look, it was fairly even, to be honest, between the two when you start adding in slot, D-line, and in the box type role.
So Battle had 28 snaps on the line, box/slot, and Dax Hill had 31.
Yeah. So like I said, pretty 50-50 split there. So I do think it impacts Dax a little bit. I think it drops him a little bit. Where was he at like the last couple weeks before that? Sorry, you still have Dax open.
You're good. I can get that up really quick.
But
keep going while I get.
All right, let's see. I think we had some other DB.
So sorry, I just got it. It was actually that was an increase for Dax Hill. The previous 3 weeks, he's been around 40 snaps at deep safety over the last pretty much all year.
Cool.
So that's actually an increase.
That would be nice if they started using them more aggressively like that. So great.
And they're going to have to. They're going to need to lean on the defense more if they're going to want a chance.
Yeah. So if that impacts him, it might be a positive. So I don't think I would move Dax out of my top 8 weekly, and honestly, Battle's probably going to start off as a high-end 2, somewhere in the 12 to 15 range.
Yep.
So they're both great. All right, so waiver wire ad for safeties. Rest of season, Thompson, Battle, Morig, Bell, Simmons, Whitehead. Which one?
Assuming that's Isaiah Simmons or Justin Simmons.
Oh, right. I think it's Justin Simmons. Isaiah Simmons in a redraft league shouldn't probably be rostered at this point.
Did have a pick 6 this week. At the end of the game.
Which of them would you drop Kyle Hamilton for? Drop for Kyle Hamilton, I assume?
I would assume so. Kyle Hamilton's the clear one to me, but if you've been watching the show, you know how much I love him.
I think if I'm dropping one of these names, I'm dropping Morig.
Him or Whitehead.
So the Jets, they have
Whitehead's
been playing. He has been the box role for the Jets. It's just their linebackers get 10 plus tackles each, so he doesn't get as many. But Tony Adams plays deep. Whitehead plays the strong safety role. So
Whitehead also has been closer to 3 or 4 tackles a game than not. Yeah, just with Quincy and Mosley.
But if you want ranks, rest of season, in any kind of tackle league, Bell 1 because he's playing linebacker.
Yep.
I think
Thompson
and Battle
is interesting.
Pretty close, yeah. I probably will take the shot on Battle just because of that role.
Yeah, I would be on the other side. Just we've seen Jalen Thompson put up 125 tackles the last 2 years. I don't think it hasn't been that same pace this season, but with Kaiser out.
Yeah, then Simmons 4, Whitehead 5, Morig 6.
Yeah, I agree. Have another similar question down here. I'll throw up. Battle, McDuffie, Jalen Thompson, and Alohi Gilman.
All right, so Battle, Thompson, like we just said, pretty close, and those are my top 2.
I don't know. McDuffie is.
I just don't trust cornerbacks week to week. Like, I know the other 2 are going to put up most weeks 8 plus tackles based on that.
Gilman is the clear 4 here to me.
Yeah, he's the deep safety right behind Derwin.
Yeah, so Derwin actually was Derwin moved into the slot this week, and Dean Marlowe was more of the box safety. Or did Gilman?
Interesting.
Gilman yeah, Jasir Taylor got basically benched. Which they need to do something. Yeah. Let me double check those, but Gilman. Yeah, Gilman was still mostly the deep safety, and Marlowe was they kind of split time. But
so sorry, let's see. I think it's Battle, Thompson, McDuffie, Gilman for me, and you're going to flip Thompson and Battle like we just talked about. So
yeah, I don't think you can go wrong between those 2.
And you probably have McDuffie closer to those 2. It sounds like than I do.
I think those 3 are in a tier. Honestly, I don't trust the cornerback position as much, but it's really if you need an upside shot or a floor shot, I think it's really what you need there. Upside, I think McDuffie is the guy there, but it's risky. Just with the corner spot.
Shandon, calling you out.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so Kareem Jackson.
I have those names up. So this is a weird one. The 2 games that Kareem Jackson missed earlier in the season for suspension. First game, PJ Locke played 100% of snaps. Second game, he played only 37%, and Delarian Turner-Yell played the other 2/3. So I don't know offhand if that was due to an injury from Locke or not, but
I think
with that, I don't know if I feel like you're probably going to be able to find a Battle or a Thompson or someone out there that's going to be more likely to be on the field 100% of snaps.
Yeah, Kareem's the deep safety, right?
I don't know how have they been splitting him.
I assume Simmons has been the bot. That's the way I would play it. Jackson's a converted former corner.
Yeah.
I do think he will still.
They've
be
been kind
suspended.
of splitting. Actually,
But-
both have been. Yeah, they've both been in the box and slot a lot.
I do
So,
think
it's been
Jackson
split.
stays suspended for some amount of time. I would be shocked if it stayed at 4 games. It did not look like a helmet-to-helmet hit. It looked like he went into a shoulder and then slid up to the helmet. So I do think they can reduce it again, but we'll see.
He definitely, I think, at least 2 games for sure, just with it being the second offense.
Exactly.
Or
Second,
like the sixth
second
time he's been
suspend
playing.
as a second suspendable offense. The Logan Thomas one was the worst one. That week 2
Yeah.
hit. He should have been suspended for. But,
Yeah.
all right. So we'll hop over to offense here. Quarterback. Last week we recommended Jordan Love. He had his first career 300-yard game and put up a couple touchdowns. So we'll take that one. We seem to be doing reasonably well with our quarterback streamers. And do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to?
I'll let you go for it this time.
All right. So, because I can't tell you which quarterback is going to start for the Saints, I'm just going to say Saints quarterback at Atlanta is worth a stream. If it's Derek Carr, hopefully off the bye he was dropped, and if he was rostered at all, and it's worth throwing in there. If it's Jameis, I know he's a little volatile, but
A little.
I'll always chase upside, especially at quarterback. That's a spot where you can potentially win a week with a great play. And Atlanta is a fantastic matchup. They've actually allowed top 5 scoring to quarterbacks on this season, and it's been top 2 the last 4 weeks. Most points allowed to fantasy quarterbacks. So play your quarterbacks against Falcons.
Yep. Didn't Jameis have 3 turnovers and like 40 and just under 50% of snaps in his time, but also had 2 or 3 touchdowns? So I think he ended up as a top 18 quarterback of the week, which was wild, but that's how it goes with Jameis.
So the Saints quarterbacks, the 5 weeks prior, Carr was in the top 15 in all 5 matchups, and if you combine Carr with Jameis, they were again. So they hit at least 15.5 fantasy points in each of those 6 matchups. So I think you can do a lot worse than whatever Saints quarterback starts.
Yeah, absolutely. Both are definite start for me. It's especially in a super flex league, or if you have weird matchups with your top starters or streaming, feel really good about either of them.
Running back, we did not do fantastic, but we also, recommended 3 handcuffs really. So 1-0 and 2. Running back's getting brutal. It's a brutal one again this week. You'll see with the names that we have in here. 1-0 and 2. Rico Dowdle was fine. He got 10 touches. Probably didn't want to start him anyway, especially with he popped up Saturday with an injury, and hopefully at that point you got him out of your lineups. But he's still, at the end of the day, a solid handcuff on a fantastic offense that's really clicking right now. So get him, keep him. He's a fantastic ad. Still, Ty Chandler was the best call we made. Got 14 touches, 110 yards, 40 of which
even with him as inactive.
Yeah, 40 of which came on a fake punt. So it's a little gadgety, but
still
110 yards is solid, playable, especially with I think he had like 4 catches. So pretty good in a PPR league, around 15 points. And Elijah Mitchell, handcuff, so it didn't play a ton behind CMC. But again, you can't go wrong this time of year rostering handcuffs. With that, we'll hop into some more handcuffs, because that's kind of all that's not rostered enough with. Well, luckily there's no real running back injuries, so that's always good news.
Yeah. So first one, your team's handcuff, if you want to hit on him.
Sure, Ezekiel Elliott. They're playing the Giants, who have been pretty bad against running backs. They're coming off the bye, so he's not under 50% like the other 2 names that we have, but he is possibly on waivers because he's only been playing 30 to 40% of snaps recently, as they bumped up Stevenson. But he has seen 11 or more opportunities in 3 of the last 4 games. And with the quarterback question lingering with the Patriots, it seems like they're going to go to Zappy, but
Drake May can't come soon enough, right?
Hey, Giants beating the Commanders puts us ahead of the Giants, even if the Giants win. So I'll take that one. We just need Kyler to get one more, and we'll be top 2.
Could use Bryce to turn it on as well, but
yeah, who knows there? They've got some that division's got some winnable games, but yeah, 12 most points. Sorry to go back. The Giants allow the 12 most points to running backs. So like I said, good matchup and good week to play both patch running backs because especially if they do go to Zappy or even better, a Will Greer or a Malik Cunningham, which are very unlikely at this point, they're going to lean on the run. So I would expect a lot of touches for Stevenson, probably over 20, and I would think Zeke actually might get close to 15 in this game.
Yeah.
Because the Giants aren't going to run away from the Patriots.
No. Even with Tommy Franchise DeVito in there, but
I think this is the last week of him before Tyrod Taylor's healthy enough and eligible to come off IR. We'll see. We'll see what they do at that point, if they stick with him or not. But you want to hit on one of these other 2 names at running back?
Yeah, sure. Patrick Taylor, he's the next man up for the Packers with Aaron Jones and Emmanuel Wilson. Is that his first name?
Yep.
Wilson going out on his first touch that game was unfortunate to see, but yeah, Taylor's next man up. Packers have been using 2 backs all year, especially since A.J. Dillon's been very ineffective, though he has been doing better over the last few weeks, but corresponding with Aaron Jones' return. So not someone I'm stoked to play, especially with the Lions matchup, but still he's usable, deep flex option. Handcuffs.
Exactly. Wilson and Jones both got carted to the locker room. Wilson with a shoulder, Jones with an ankle. So I wouldn't be surprised if both of them missed multiple weeks. So,
yeah, but for sure this week I would think with the short week, I'd be shocked if either played.
The other name to throw out there, I don't expect him to be the 2 because Taylor got some run earlier in the year, but they did also re-sign James Robinson to the practice squad.
Interesting.
And they have a rookie down there too that I did not even recognize this name. So I'll be honest, I don't expect him to be playing because Taylor was signed off the Patriots practice squad to the active roster for Green Bay. Final name we wanted to touch on, Kendre Miller on the Saints. Just talked about up above. They're playing the Falcons. So they're coming off the bye. He's a 3rd-round pick for the Saints. I think like almost 70 overall, somewhere in there, which is pretty good draft capital for a running back with a pretty bad knee injury. It's not typically where you see them go. Jamal Williams has not been good for the Saints so far this year, and he's a little older. And Kamara's been taking on more work as a result of Williams' struggles. So I would try, if I were them, to get Kendre Miller more involved in the offense. At the very least, even if he can't take on that grinder touchdown scoring role that we've seen from them before with Mark Ingram, he's actually the handcuff to both running backs because he can catch the ball and he can run with power. So he can kind of cover as a cuff for both running backs, which makes him reasonably valuable, especially if Kamara were to get hurt.
Hopefully he can get into a Tajay Spears, not necessarily the same, probably an opposite work style, but just with Kamara there, but hopefully similar usage.
I don't know how you keep giving the ball to Jamal Williams at this point. He's averaging like 3 yards a carry in that offense. And
yeah, with them making a playoff push, they gotta change it up.
At least give him a shot.
Do we have any running back questions?
We missed the quarterback question that someone brought up earlier. Now that I think about it, Evan, I'm sorry.
Yes, we even mentioned that we would get to yours later. Let's hit that real quick.
Yes. Sorry, he posted something else too. Where was his follow-up? Jordan Love, not Nico Collins. Okay.
Oh, I think he updated. Here we go. Okay. Good. Josh Allen. I assume Josh Allen and Nico Collins for CD and Love, which I think is right here.
This one. Yep, we both clicked it.
Yep, there we go. And we did
Did
it
it
again.
again.
I'll let you click
Oh,
it.
okay. All right.
Look at us. We're professionals.
Josh Allen, Nico Collins, CeeDee Lamb, Jordan Love. Just lost Burrow. Josh Allen still has his bye. You also have Baker. I am going to hold and not go get Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I don't love it, but Baker and Love is pretty good, and Lamb has been like wide receiver 1 the last month and has like a real fun schedule the rest of the year. So I'm not. I haven't been impressed with Josh Allen recently, and Nico Collins is lost some of his role to Tank Dell while he was out. And they still haven't played with all 4 receivers together, so I do think that will hurt, honestly, everyone but Tank Dell.
Yeah.
When Noah Brown comes back, I do think he'll cut into Collins' overall workload. So for me, understand losing Burrow. If you're only starting one quarterback and you have Love and Baker, I'm holding where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm also there as well. The last 5 weeks, Jordan Love has been quarterback 12, 18, 14, 12, and 9 with 6 point touchdown scoring. So, and the rest of their season is pretty sweet. Detroit, Kansas City is rough. Then the Giants and Buccaneers. Then your playoffs are the Panthers and Vikings, which Panthers haven't been great, but I think that's a lot of them just getting blown out. So I feel good with Love there. And just the drop, I think, is from Lamb to Collins is massive.
Yeah, I mean, Lamb's top 5 rest of the season easy.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have some defensive questions we can jump through here.
Yeah.
We help with a receiver. Okay.
There we go.
Add Diggs or Battle and drop Baker or Lenore. I'm adding Battle for Lenore, personally. I don't. We've touched on this. Cornerbacks are a little up and down, and Battle's role was really enticing. Diggs is more the free safety, I think. So
he did have a baker's dozen tackles this week, but yeah, he's the deep safety. This was not the norm.
Yeah.
I'm looking up some stuff.
You looking up this one? Aziz Al-Shair. He only played like 60%, so that was a good call. I'm not sure what. I didn't see anything come out on injuries with him. Did you?
I'm also looking. I did not see anything.
Yeah, if you have if you have playing time, can you look up Gibbons?
Yeah, I have that up. Gibbons was only at 41% of snaps. Monty Rice came in and played the same number of snaps as Gibbons.
Interesting. So Monty
Gibbons
Rice
has been down in the 40s last 2 weeks, so it's weird.
I wonder if Rice's numbers and Al-Shair's numbers together equal roughly 100%. If you can do that math. Sorry.
It's over 100%, but yeah.
Okay.
So
I was
together they played 108 snaps out of how many total snaps did they have this week? Like 68-ish snaps, so that sounds pretty close. Yeah, surprised to see Aziz drop that far. I'm not seeing anything about injury.
It's not scaring me off of him.
No.
He's on a 1-year deal. The Titans have no real reason to not play him.
Yeah.
So I would.
Especially since they are still trying to compete. Yeah. If it happens again this week, I would be more concerned. But
it's just something to watch for at this point, I think. Let's see. A couple of running back questions. We have another quarterback one in there. So once Foreman went out, I think they split pretty close to 50-50 in that game. I think it was 25 for Herbert and 25 for Roschon, 22 for Herbert.
33% for overall in the game, 43% for Herbert, 33% for Roschon. But
Okay.
I don't see that without after Foreman left.
I think I still want Herbert. I don't. think Roshan's going to do it this year now.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
there's a shot
Even as the
long
Roshan
term.
stand.
It's the long term play is definitely Roshan, but I do think Herbert has the early down role this year over Roshan.
If you're in a full PPR league, that would change things a bit. Just Roshan is the pass blocking back, and more of the third down guy. Though Herbert still does get some of that work.
Pacheco or Ford
Roshan did not get any targets this week, which is out of the norm.
Pacheco or Jerome
not.
Ford. No, I agree. Ty Chandler is still just a backup at best on a worse offense than at the very least the Chiefs, even though they haven't scored a second half touchdown in a month or second half points in a month, which is a wild stat. But
Yeah, those receivers are gross.
Jerome Ford, he's been solid. I do think they struggled to run on Steelers, and that's why you didn't see him as much. But let's see.
Let's say Alexander Madison's just done for the year.
I'm still sticking with Pacheco or Ford. I trust those offenses a little more, especially because the offense for the Browns I don't trust as much, I guess, or similarly, but they're going to lean on the run. Whereas I do think once Jefferson comes back, which, speaking of, we'll get to the next question, the Vikings are going to throw it more. Would you trade Kyler Murray and James Cook for Minshew and Jefferson? And he did add in that he has Jalen Hurts as his other quarterback, which does make a big difference for you. Yes, I'm happy to do it. If it were just Kyler that was my quarterback, I would not. But
no.
Yeah.
Do that, cut Minshew and add someone usable.
Honestly, yeah, I would. If that's the deal, I would take it. If they're willing to swap someone else out for Minshew and get a running back, some sort of a throw-in running back in there, I'd prefer that. But I would do that deal in a second.
Do you see another running back question from Will?
We got a linebacker question. Hold on, sorry. Josh Woods. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but he's a reasonable ad, especially in a deeper league. But there's hopefully better linebackers out there. But he's not.
If you're in a super deep league, starting 3-4 linebackers and a flex or two, he's a good ad for sure.
Yeah.
We double clicked. There we go.
Trade Ford for Charbonnet if I can do it. Walker. Yes, I would probably be willing to do that. I trust the Seahawks more. So the thing here is kind of depends a little bit what you need. If you're starting, if you were starting both Ford and Walker already, then it's a little harder because you're giving up a starter. But
I would rather Ford just like season-long outlook, just in a vacuum. But I don't hate it.
Yeah, rest of season. Oh my goodness, this one's really hard.
That one's really hard.
There's no bad option there.
There's not.
Duggar, Hamilton. No, Duggar, Bell, Hamilton, Battle, Thompson. Maybe.
That sounds right. I might flip Hamilton, Bell, but
yeah. I trust Bell's tackle floor more than Hamilton's. That's why he's higher for me. But I can understand. I almost did put Hamilton too. Don't blame me for rejecting that. Henderson, I'm not even sure is the backup with Kyron coming back. I do think it's going to be
Royce or Ronnie Rivers if he's back. Shannon does bring up a good point after we hit getting Martinez.
Touched on this one a little bit earlier too, but he's a stash at most now. He might take over that Michael Walker role and be similar to what Landon Roberts was earlier this year. So again, deep league stash and hope. You brought up Woods earlier. I would rather Woods than Blake Martinez because at the very least you can play Woods right now. Sam Hubbard or Anthony Jennings. I have to drop D'Amico Autry or Kobe Turner. I'd be willing to drop either of them.
Yeah.
Wait,
If
Hubbard
Hubbard's
could be
healthy, I
dropped.
still probably go ahead. Say that again.
I'm just confused. Current D lineman that could be dropped are Riddick, Hubbard, and he's asking about adding Hubbard.
Um, would you take Anthony Jennings over either Autry or
Yes.
Kobe Turner?
Over Kobe Turner. Autry's
Same.
been solid-ish some weeks and could play if he needed to.
Good point from Shandon here on the running backs that Seattle's matchups the next few weeks. They have 2 matchups with the Niners, Cowboys, and I think the Eagles in there too are their next 4 games. So that is a brutal stretch. Forgot about I'm just going to stick with Ford there.
Yeah, he's a Seattle fan too, just for reference.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Do
that then.
Yeah, drop Minshew, add Love, easy. All right,
Yeah.
we're running a little long, so we'll hop back to receivers. So last week, 1-1-1. Irwin took a hit. We'll take an L on that one, but a lot of that was the Burrow effect. Elijah Moore was solid, 6 for 60, and Guyton missed the game due to injury.
They could have used him.
Yeah, exactly. I do think he's still a solid hold/add. Honestly, over some of the names that we have in here. So do you want to take?
He's the receiver. If you don't have Keenan Allen or Austin Eckler, Jalen Guyton's the one I want for the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't know what order you want to do these guys in. Which ones you want to hit on or not hit on?
Let's start with Khalil Shakir, Bills' apparent wide receiver too. At least start wise.
So he's better option than their other wide receiver too.
Yep. He's played 65% of snaps the last few weeks since Dawson Knox left. Knox going out really gave Shakir and Dalton Kincaid a huge boon. So I'd love to see that. He's had 90-plus yards in 2 of the last 4. Not a huge target share with only 16 over those same 4 games, but with Josh Allen, you can just get a fireball and 80-yard touchdown at any given snap. So he's still a good play, good wide receiver 3 flex type play, I think, right now.
Hop in Aaron Jones, MCL sprain, consider week to week, but unlikely to play Thursday, which makes sense with an MCL sprain because probably a 2 to 4 week injury, depending on how severe it is. So, talked about
Will with a point on Gabe Davis, which I agree, unless you're in a best ball league, then keep him on your bench and hope for something crazy because it'll happen twice a year.
Speaking of injured Packers, we brought him up earlier, Dontavian Wicks. Kind of a weird ad recommendation. He's in concussion protocol. They play Thursday. He's not going to play in that game, most likely. I don't know how he would clear in that few of days, but he's actually seen 4 more targets in each of the last 4 games, despite only playing 30 to 40% of snaps. Like I said, he's in protocol, but over the last month, he's had at least 3 catches and 49 yards. Sorry, in each of the last 3 games, he's had at least 3 catches, 49 yards. Including it's like 90 yards last week on like 3 catches. So
we're at a weird spot right now. Where honestly, if Aaron Jones is out, I'm fine starting really any of the 4 Packers wide receivers. If you're in a league that starts more than 2 receivers in 1 flex, if you're in a deep league, like they're all.
It'll be really interesting to see how they play their receivers, especially against the susceptible Lions secondary. I don't know. Honestly, Reed's been their best player, but he has the worst matchup because he has to play Branch.
Yep.
But he's been the one that Love has clearly got the best connection with right now. Dobbs is getting the touchdowns, and honestly, the fact that they've been running Reed is intriguing with their issues with their running game. So I don't know. I
guess rank rest of the season the Packers receivers. Reed is the one for me right now, which is still scary. And then I don't know, it's Watson and Dubs is weird, and then Wicks would have to be 4, just playing half the snaps as the rest. But
I think Dubs is 1 for me. Then Reed. He's the one that's catching the touchdowns pretty consistently. Yeah. And I do think
Reed's touchdown was a run this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a 40-yard touchdown run. Yeah. And then the two receivers, Dubs and Watson, both caught touchdowns. But Watson, it's like weekly. You wait until like the fourth quarter before he gets any targets. Like you're sitting there at halftime, and it's like, is Watson playing? And then all of a sudden, you look at the end of the game, and he's played 80% of snaps. He just gets like 4 targets.
Yeah.
I'm really just not sure what they're doing. I feel like they're using him completely wrong. And they're trying to use him as like a downfield jump ball guy, like a Mike Williams, and they should be using him more like a Deebo Samuel.
Yep.
So I just don't understand the usage there, but it's not something they're going to be able to change mid-season.
Nope.
So I would love to see them switch Reed and Watson's roles, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that would be really interesting. But sorry, I'm talking too much. You want to hit on the Saints receivers?
Yeah, last one, Rashid Shaheed, who we do have a question here about, and A.T. Perry. Shaheed's just been an awesome deep threat all year and really all of last year, too, or most of last year, too. They're coming out of the bye. Michael Thomas still is unlikely to play, as always. Derek Carr has been preferring Rashid Shaheed as his deep threat this season, whereas Jameis Winston came in and immediately gave Chris Olave one of his best games of the year in half a game. At the same time, Shaheed still did see 9 targets last week against, and now they're going up against a zone-heavy team in the Falcons, which can be picked apart and can get beat deep. A.T. Perry, after Mike Thomas went down last week, had 84% of snaps, caught a jump ball touchdown. Was that the game at the end of the game? But caught one from Winston, so both are decent plays against a bad passing defense.
One thing I want to bring up, so just for reference, depending on which quarterback, it could be a moot point. But Scott Barrett, the Fantasy Points, tweeted this out a while ago. So Rashid Shaheed, when he plays zone defenses, has a much higher yards per route run, so indicative of their success on the routes they're running. Is significantly higher than Olave or Thomas. And Thomas gets all of the first reads against man, 43%. So if Perry's playing that Thomas role, the Falcons, like I said, or you said, run a more zone heavy look. It was around 75% last I saw. So I think Shaheed is the better play this week. But the roles, it's weird how they kind of just ignore Olave. So I'm not sure, honestly, what to make of it, especially if Carr were to miss. But if Carr plays, I think you want to play Shaheed over Perry.
Yeah, I'd agree. Before we answer questions, let's just do tight end real quick since it's a pretty straightforward name. Last week, Michael Mayer, solid streamer. Still going to be a solid streamer this season. And want to hit on Isaiah Likely?
Sure. So for those who missed it, we talked a little bit about Andrews. Isaiah Likely is playing at the Chargers this week. He played around 75% of snaps without Andrews there. He really hasn't done much this year, which is a little concerning since the offense is different than last year, which was where he produced 3 top 9 finishes in the 3 games without Andrews. But this year he's got 3 targets, 1 catch in 2 games. He got goosed against the Bengals, and he had 1 catch for like 4 yards week 1 when Andrews missed. However, he's running a route on 90% of their pass attempts, which is typically like an elite tight end number. So I struggle to see that not changing, but at the same time, it feels a lot riskier than normally you would think for this type of a role, because the targets all seem to get funneled to Beckham, which I just didn't expect. I would have thought Flowers would have been the one to pick up more of those. But yeah.
Yeah, and then also keep an eye out for Charlie Kolar, see if he gets some more snap increase. Just with he fits that off Todd Monken's typical offense more, but we'll see. Likely he's definitely that right now. Thank you for the super chat, Caden. First one we've gotten.
Yeah.
So he sent in a couple questions here. Trading away Hollywood and Charbs for Sutton and Tyjae Spears, 7-5. Trade deadline is tomorrow. says El Sutton playoff schedule is better than Holly. Yeah. Yeah, what's going on with Kyler and Hollywood?
So I think a lot of it is Hollywood. I haven't looked at the splits, but last year I think a lot of his big games came against man coverage. And teams are just playing a lot more two deep shell zone coverage, the Patrick Mahomes effect that they're all just like, well, beat us underneath. And that's not, zone coverage is not something that Hollywood's going to do. That's something that Trey McBride's going to do, which is why a lot of the targets seem to be going to him. So I'm still bullish on Hollywood because, I mean, there were 2 easy touchdowns the last couple of weeks they've just missed. One in each game. He was wide open for touchdowns, and Kyler just missed him slightly. And Sutton's just a touchdown machine. The issue for me with this one is the Charbonnet Tajay one.
Yeah.
That schedule for the Titans is pretty juicy coming up for
And it is
running backs.
absolutely brutal for the Seahawks.
But Henry is still ahead of Spears. So it's just like, oh, man.
Yeah, honestly, the running backs here, just with matchups and everything, I feel like thing is, if you trade for Charbonnet, you're going to have to start him the next 2 weeks while Walker's out, or 3 weeks, and I don't really want to.
He has his team has, if you look at the next one, he has the Hollywood Charbonnet side. So Hollywood looks like a starter based on this, the way he's ordered it. Yeah, I would start Hollywood over those guys. But so Sutton would go right into a starting lineup as his wide receiver 2.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm okay with it, especially because if the Titans continue losing games, I imagine Henry's probably just going to sit him the last couple of weeks, and maybe then if you have a good matchup for Spears and let him get the full work.
I forget. It's like Houston. I can't remember who the middle team is in there.
Yeah, I'm looking for Tajay.
Seattle?
That sounds right.
Houston, Seattle. Houston, they play each other? Because that would be a bad matchup for Charbonnet.
So, weeks 15 through 17 are Houston, Seattle, Houston.
Okay.
So I am honestly very much okay with this. It's risky, but and you seem like your son's been doing awesome, and if you're in on him right now, I'm fine with it. Yeah, their rest weeks 14 through 17, they have the Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers. Yeah, I'm probably doing this.
Chargers touchdowns should be easy. Patriots. Who's the fourth one?
Detroit.
Okay, yeah, those are all good matchups.
You probably lose this in perceived value, but I think it's the right way to go, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Sutton is pretty clearly the alpha there. And he's getting the targets over Hollywood. So honestly, even if he doesn't score, he's more likely to actually score more points than Hollywood weekly. So, and you're not playing Charbonnet over Saquon or White.
Yeah.
And you've got the depth with Chuba and Rashi Rice, Christian Watson.
Yeah, I'm
good with that.
Yeah. Other questions? I think there were a couple in there.
Had one on here. Drop Flowers or Pickens for Reed or Shaheed. I would drop Pickens for Reed.
I would too. Pickens has that potential. I don't want to deal with Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Granted, they might get an offensive boon with Matt Canada being gone, but
They promoted the running back coach to be the OC. So my guess is what you're going to actually see is a lot more Najee Harris and hopefully more Jalen Warren.
Yeah. I don't really want to deal with it. Looks like last question I'm seeing we have in here is a potential stretch run DB. Double checking to see if
consistent one sack premium. I mean,
Trent McDuffie.
I was thinking the same name, honestly. Slot cornerback who blitzes a lot, and McDuffie would probably be the one that would do that for you. I can't think of. I feel like sneaky one might be one of the Bengals because they do like to bring those blitzes like from time
I
to
would
time.
agree
So
there.
like Dax Hill's gotten a couple, and it wouldn't surprise me if Battle gets some of that role too. Like we kind of said, they're pretty similar.
Really, just like any slot corner is an option there,
Yeah,
or big time box safety.
I haven't seen Hobbs do a lot of blitzing. Um,
And Hobbs is probably
is,
owned in a lot of leagues.
yeah, is Witherspoon still playing a lot of slot for the
He is.
Seahawks? Because
Yeah.
he's an interesting
I'm
one.
assuming if he's out there, yeah, he's definitely a grab, I think. But
Yeah, try to pull up what DBs are actually getting sacks. To be honest,
Roger McCreary has a few on the year. Heck, if Jeremy Chin actually comes back and they let him play, that's an option.
Hamilton's probably rostered. Harrison Smith's
Yep.
probably rostered. Witherspoon's got 3. McDuffie, McCreary, Morig. Morig's a name with 2.
Yeah.
Winfield surprisingly has 2.
Thing with Kyle Hamilton, Harrison Smith, and Devon Witherspoon is they have 9 between them, and Trent McDuffie also has 2. All of them, Witherspoon had 2 in a game. Harrison Smith and Hamilton, both of their 3 each came in 1 game. McDuffie's 2 came in 1 game. Yeah, I think Dax Hill or Jordan Battle's probably the one to go with there. I think that's a good call.
Have you seen any Jeremy Chin news? He's
I
eligible
thought
to
I saw
come
he was
back.
supposed to be activated, but
He's supposed to be coming back off IR, so he might be a sneaky name to get in there. Metellus is an interesting one. Deeper,
yeah.
might get some blitzing opportunities. If you can
Honestly,
get
yeah, Marquise Bell too.
Bell,
Just
I
because
was going to say if you can
he's
get
a
Marquise
linebacker.
Bell, yeah.
I think he's still at least MFL. I don't remember where he's at in MFL, but I know in Sleeper he's still a DB, DBLB versatility.
It depends where they listed him to start the year, because
He was a safety.
okay, the people who run NFL don't like to change them mid-season unless they have to.
I thought they did switch it, but I could be wrong. I was just glancing at it quickly. This was last week, but
They switched to Isaiah McDuffie, I know, or Isaiah Simmons.
Simmons. Okay. All right, well, it looks like that's all the questions we've had. I know we went a little long, as we tend to do, but thank you guys very much for hanging out with us, asking some awesome questions. Really appreciate it. And thank you again, Caden, for that super chat. One last reminder on that
go ahead.
Sacks giving code we have right now. What was that, Justin?
Just once we're done, we get another question in. So,
okay.
So keep running through, though.
Sweet. Yeah. Code Saxgiving over the next, 2 weeks through December 4th. We'll give you 30% off of a subscription with the IDP guys, which gives you access to our Discord where all of our awesome writers are. Gives you more access to some of the tools we have, snap counts, weekly fantasy finishes, and teams and fantasy points allowed by position. Can sign up for the newsletter. Various other awesome interactions you can have with us. We have a weekly rankings, previews, reviews, etc. And yeah, Justin can be found at FFF Ballers, and I can be at Jolo63 on Twitter/X. And
Josh Allen, Carl Granderson, DJ Warner.
Reverse order for me.
Yep.
Allen Granderson won.
Agree with that.
And I think that'll wrap it up for us.
All right.
So thank you all for hanging out. We will see you next week after Thanksgiving, which we have games 3 days this weekend. Have a good Thanksgiving, everyone.
So
with you.
Sorry, I believe that it's still coming Saturday, but we'll make sure that we get something posted to the primary Twitter account if you're on there, so that we make sure we hit whether or not this is going to come up or not. I don't believe there's anything planned for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But
as always, you can reach out to any of us on Twitter/X and in the Discord if you subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you all again. Have a good Thanksgiving. See you next week.